Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, more content, more reviews, more movies. It is I, your friendly neighborhood moviegoer, John L., and I'm back with another review. Tonight, we talk about a movie that I was reluctant to watch. I had no vested interest. The trailers did nothing for me. And then I went ahead and I looked at the reviews. Different sites, Rotten Tomatoes, New York Times. Even went on to the Roger Ebert review website to check something out on it. And listen, I felt like I had to go ahead and give this movie a shot. The movie I'm talking about is called A Man Called Otto, starring Tom Hanks. And like I said, I was reluctant to watch this. Didn't pique my interest at all at first. And then, much like anything else I am reluctant to do, I did my best to keep an open mind. And then I went from there. So the synopsis on this movie reads that the movie is based on the comical and moving New York Times bestseller. A Man Called Otto tells the story of Otto Anderson, played by Tom Hanks, a grumpy widower whose only joy comes from criticizing and judging his exasperated neighbors. Exasperated neighbors. When a lively young family moves in next door, he meets his match in quick-witted and very pregnant Marisol, leading to an unexpected friendship that will turn his world upside down. The movie was released wide on January 13th, 2023. Movie runtime is 2 hours and 6 minutes, and is distributed by Columbia Pictures, Sony. Like I said, I had to go into this movie with an open mind because I didn't necessarily have a frame of reference for this. And then when I read the reviews, most were good, but others put the movie down. And I was like, you know what? Let me clear my head, go into this movie, and see how, or if, it can make me feel anything. Folks, I found myself getting so emotional during this film. And for a lot of me, trying to find reason for it made sense because of how the movie was directed, how it flowed, the character portrayals, and the actor performances. I think Tom Hanks playing the grumpy old man, telling the kids to stay off his lawn type deal was hilarious. But at the same time, for him to be a widower, another movie having to deal with grief, seems to be a recurring theme in a lot of the movies that I've watched in the last, I would say, 5 to 6 months. And how he was dealing with that grief, the loss of his wife, and adapting to a world without her. He was a grumpy old man. He was like that when his wife was around. But he was one of those characters who married a woman who was the complete opposite of who he was. But he realized she was the best of what humanity had to offer. And he loved her for that. And to lose such a powerful and important person like that in your life turns you upside down. And for some, and how they react, it might make them miserable. And they behave in certain ways and go about life not in the most pleasant of ways. And that's how Tom Hanks' character came off to begin the movie. And then everything else transpired. The new family moved in next door, and it was a family. The wife was pregnant. The husband, as it was put in the trailer and in the movie, the nitwit husband, didn't know how to do much. Millennial. He, as in Tom Hanks, as the character of Otto, called the majority of people idiots. Because it just seemed like people didn't know what the hell they were doing with themselves. The husband was one of those idiots. They had two lovely young daughters, and the wife, character's name Marisol, was pregnant. She made it her business to come into Otto's life, not just as a neighbor, but converted herself into a friend and a confidant to him. And it shifted his perspective on things. He had a ritual that he followed. He had a routine that he followed every day of his life. And he would go and visit his wife's grave and talk to her from time to time. And you would see the flashbacks in the movie of how they met, how their relationship evolved, and how it grew, and when they got married, and the evolution of their lives and what it is that they got into career-wise and personally, how they grew, personal tragedy, things of that nature, friends of theirs, how relationships grew and then broke apart, and things like that just made you feel and understand for the characters in the movie, be it presently there and or not. In the wife's case, Tom Hanks' wife's name was Sonia. To begin the movie, you understood that she was already dead. She passed away. But she was such an overarching character in the movie. And it was important to see because he saw a lot of what was in his wife in this new neighbor of his, this woman. And he couldn't help but put his guard down and eventually come to, as I see. Like, get this moment of clarity and things of that nature. And then we also learn about a medical concern that came up with Otto as a youth. Not a youth, but like a late teen, 20s type. And that eventually is what led to what happened to Otto by the end of the movie. And everything in between. Just the connection with people, his attempts to be with his wife again, and what most would call something that's understanding, but at the same time, you never like to see anyone commit to harming themselves just so that they can feel some sort of what they believe is ease on their life. And you meet all these characters along the way that his wife touched, and he meets them, and he understood that his wife, like I said, was one of the best of us, and she always saw the best in people, and she helped good people. And meeting these characters along the way that his wife touched throughout the years, and seeing her traits in others is what helped him open his eyes again to the world and let down those barriers and become a part of community again. Be a man that he once was due to his wife, who had already passed on. And the message was so profound because you hear so many stories about couples as they get older, right? And they've been married for like, 40, 50, 60 years. That eventually when one passes away, if that relationship was good and healthy and one of a strong bond of not just love, but a relationship they worked on and was a example to those around them, you always end up listening or hearing or reading stories of if one of those people in that couple dies, the other person of that relationship dies not too far along, if not right after that, the person who died first. And those types of relationships they're rare in the space of society nowadays. To have that sort of relationship shown and visualized here in this movie, I thought was very thoughtful. And it reminded me of essentially, I might not look like it or sound like it, but a hopeless romantic until probably the end. Something that I always kind of wished for myself, right? And, that's what movies are supposed to do, Yeah, you suspend your disbelief. You understand that it's fictional. These are made-up characters, but at the end of the day, you can take things away from movies that aren't real, or they give you more context and more content into the world that you might want to live, if it's doable, right? Something that has a certain level of verisimilitude, as I always like to say, the realness of it. And because of those moments that Otto shared with his wife, his community, the people around him, friends and things of that nature, then to the new neighbors and everything else in between, it was, like I said, it was thoughtful. It was thought-provoking. They touched on other themes within the characters that Otto meets along the way. And I didn't feel like any of those themes were just thrown in there to be thrown in there. It's like, yeah, his wife would have done that just because of the way that he described her and how she pushed along and treated people and things of that nature. So it felt so, yeah, this can happen. If you're jaded in life and you're always down on stuff, or you just think that people are shitty all the time, you think to yourself, oh man, this is over the top, this is goofy, this is really corny, this isn't something that necessarily happens in real life nowadays. And it's like, there's still good people out there, folks. And things of this nature, not that they happen every day, but it could be a rare occurrence, So think about those around you, how you want to be treated and how you want to be remembered, and the kind of legacy you want to leave behind. And essentially, that's one of the bigger themes in this movie of A Man Called Otto. Not just his grumpiness and how he's dealing with the grief of the loss of his wife and things of that nature. There's a message of hope here. There's a message of just being better. There's a message of not losing a sense of community. You know, those messages, those themes, they're mixed in here very well. So in my estimation, I feel like the film was very well written, very well directed. Tom Hanks does an amazing job here. We get to meet another one of Tom Hanks' sons in this film. His son Truman plays a younger version of Tom Hanks' character Otto in the flashback scenes. So that was cool to see. And you know, I think that where we ended up by the end of the movie, it was fitting. You know, that's probably one of the more predictable parts of the movie. I just wanted to see as to what the journey was to how they got there. And I, for one, love the journey. I truly do recommend this film, A Man Called Otto. Go out and support the movie in theaters, folks. It is a great watch. But don't take my word for it. Right? Because I'm just one of the many. As I always do, we talk about the Rotten Tomatoes scores here. 192 reviews from critics give it a 70%, which is fresh, on Rotten Tomatoes. But for us, the audience, the 2,500 plus verified ratings of people who have gone to see A Man Called Otto have given it a 97%. So what does that tell you, folks? My recommendation is go watch it. Support the film in theaters, your local theater. It's been there since January. It's 2 hours and 6 minutes long on the runtime. You'll enjoy it. That's my take. It is a comedy and drama at the same time. So you'll get your laughs. And you'll also get those tugs at the heartstrings. So that's my take on A Man Called Otto. I watched it at my local AMC. It was actually my first time in that auditorium, which was cool because I like the elevated stadium seating in that particular auditorium. New to me. So thanks to my local AMC for booking me in there. That was quite the watch on an early Saturday morning. All right, folks. This has been your friendly neighborhood moviegoer, John L., signing off. Until next time, folks, be well, stay safe out there, and do your best with your health. It's all we have. Take care of it. Programming notes. Next week, try something a little different. Gonna review a show of interest of mine. Trying to see if I can binge it and then record episodes, post every episode. And then I will also pick 2 streaming movies that have piqued my interest because there's nothing in theaters this particular week, the week of the 6th of February, that has piqued my interest. So I'll be back at the theaters next week with a few indie films and the new Marvel film, Ant-Man Quantumania. So look forward to that in about 2 weeks' time. But next week, we're going to try some new content. So until then, folks, thank you as always for listening. I appreciate you guys all across the globe that consume my content and listen to my movie musings. Much appreciated. Be good, folks. I'm about this.